All right, welcome to Wax Pro UNCUT. I'm Erica.
And I'm Rachael.
And today we have Lindsay Dill. Welcome.
Hello. Thank
Lindsay.
you.
So happy to have you.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, so I just wanted to lead off and say I know Lindsay from a previous job we both worked at, another franchise. Apparently, I'm obsessed with franchising. So we worked at a one-on-one assisted stretch company. Great concept, great clientele. So happy I met you there. So tell us a little bit about what you're up to now.
So now I am working full-time as an online health and fitness coach. I currently work for a really large company, fitness and nutrition coaching company, and then I have some other little things that I do on the side as well.
Side biz.
Little side biz,
Little.
yes.
Well, tell us a little bit about the little side biz.
So I do still have my own private clients that I train outside of my full-time job. So that's something that I had started, 7-8 years ago now.
And that's personal training?
Yep. So so it's the same thing that I do in my full-time job. It's just outside of that company, right? So I have
Okay.
my own clients who will find me, whether they know me personally or people who just find me on Instagram. And then as of, last August, September, I started a little side baking business.
It's so fun.
I know.
Yes.
Rachel loves baking.
I like to eat baked goods.
That
She
was
lit
the
up.
primary
That's where it was
reason I
born.
started
Yeah.
it. Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay, let's backtrack a little bit. So, personal training, baking. How do those?
Yeah.
They don't seem like they would go
Align.
hand in hand.
No. So my baking business is called Dessert Mommy, and it just happened by accident. So if we back up to last February of 2023, I was talking to my Instagram audience, from a coach's perspective. And I am one of those coaches who thinks it's really, really important to include the things that you enjoy to eat on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Like there's
Balance.
no cookie cutter diet, it should be flexible. So I was
Right.
talking and it kind of naturally came out. I was like, I'm a dessert mommy. I just said it. I was like, oh yeah. And then in my Instagram post,
You
I was
branded
like,
it.
I did. In my Instagram post, I said, oh, I should put that on a shirt. And my friends were like, put it on a shirt. I bought that shirt. So I was like, okay. It's like, I'm not really apparel girl, but I was like, let's see, this could be fun.
what happens here.
So I happened to meet a client at the place that we worked together, and she had a home printing,
Like screen printing.
screen printing kind of, yeah. So she had screen printing. Well, we connected, and I had this little logo, and I should have worn my hat. I should have worn my hat.
Branding opportunity.
Right? But just a little ice cream cone, Dessert Mommy. So I sold some crop tops and some T-shirts. I made some hats. And then I was like, okay, what else can I do with this brand? Because apparel was not really intriguing to me. I fumbled upon it. So then I was like, oh, I would tell my husband, I would love to be one of those people who just ate dessert all day and talked about it online. He was like, okay. I was like, I could be a dessert blogger.
okay.
So
Dessert blogger?
my mission was to find little small businesses in Phoenix and the surrounding area and find their specialties, right? Little mom and pop shops. Everybody knows crumble. Everybody
Right.
loves crumble, and crumble's fine, but I want the home baker,
Yeah.
the little thing. So I started doing that and realized, well, this is a lot of dessert. I could not make a full-time side hustle out of just eating dessert all day as much as I wanted to. So then I was like, I got to pivot again, right? So then I thought to myself, all these cookies that I've tried or things that I've tried, I could bake that because I love to bake. I've always loved to bake, since a little girl, my mom, my dad, everything. So I started baking. I think I spent one weekend for 10 hours watching YouTube videos on how to bake the 4 to 6 ounce cookies, the big, delicious. And I've perfected a couple of recipes. And
Ooh.
now
It's
that's
so
kind of
fascinating. It's so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's super fun.
It's really
so
fun.
your audience, though, is there a crossover of who your audience is? Did it start out your audience was your Instagram personal training clients followed Dessert Mommy, or
Yes.
now it's branched off from that?
Yeah, so I have kind of my main Instagram page, which is where I do my business stuff.
Okay.
And then I have a whole separate, I was like, if I'm going to do this, it needs to be a separate thing. And the majority of my Dessert Mommy people have found me from my fitness page,
Okay.
which is a little ironic.
Yeah.
You know, people are like, you
Well,
do
if that's the
both?
catch.
Fitness people need cookies too, you know?
Yes, we do.
But I love that it's just like true baking. It's not like, let me show you how to make this cookie healthy. It's like, this is the best cookie in the world.
Yeah.
Okay. I like
Yeah.
Rachel's like, sign me up.
I'm like,
I'm
what's the catch?
in.
What is not in the cookie? Is it healthy?
No.
It's just
got butter and
good
sugar
baking.
and
I
lots
love
of
that.
love and some tears.
I
This is
love
yours. Yeah.
that you said the word pivot,
Yeah.
right? Because your strategy doesn't always go to plan. And so I think that's really important for any entrepreneur, business owner to understand is, you know, you think this is my business plan, and then you launch and you're like, what? Like my business completely went this way, like a different audience. Or maybe, you know, we start off by offering Wax Pro and it's business and waxing. It's like, well, people are asking for other services, right? And so you have to continuously pivot and evolve. I think some of the challenges I've seen with owners who are at a standstill with their business is that they're not able to pivot or evolve, and they're stuck in their way. This way worked since XYZ. It's 2024. You know, people are changing, their buying behaviors are changing, their education, their access to education has changed so much. We have a whole chapter in Wax Pro about like your point of sale system. Okay, when Rachael and I started in the aesthetics industry, there was people with like a legit appointment book.
That was me. I used that. That's how I booked my
Right.
clients, was by hand
with
in
a
pencil. Yeah.
and you erase and, you know, and then, you know, we used like a hardware type of system over at, you know, some of the companies we worked at. And then it was like cloud-based. And now it's like people have their proprietary, you know, apps. So like it's constantly evolving. So it's very imprudent to get stuck in your ways when you're in business and say, this is the way that's always worked. Impossible. You know, you got to be ready to pivot. So I love that you brought that up. I'm curious. So what is, and I don't know, what is your educational background, and is that serving you in what you do now?
Great question. So no college, not college degree, but I have, I mean, gosh, a handful of fitness nutrition certifications, right? Personal training. I have a nutrition coaching certification, a weightlifting certification, because I'm also a competitive weightlifter. I'm currently studying for my menopause certification. And there's a couple of other little ones that are not as related
Right.
anymore, right? But the one I'm working through now is menopause, and I already know kind of the next couple that I want to get to support coaching.
Okay.
Am I doing anything to support baking right now? It's not yet, but you know, it's, I think I love 2024 because, or just like this era that we're in, because you have access at your fingertips to so much. And there are a couple of, you know, like I know where I need to be and what I need to be doing in fitness, and I feel super confident there. I've been doing it for a decade. I've done the in-person thing, the online thing, like the hybrid virtual thing, and I feel comfortable there. And I think the baking is, I'm not comfortable at all. There's nothing comfortable about trying to sell a product when I've always sold a service. It's very different.
Yeah.
And, you know, there are some kind of, I'm sure similar to what you guys are doing that are very specific to home bakers, to cottage bakers, that I'm like, okay, that's kind of when I get through my menopause cert, my brain only works on, I cannot do all the things. And I think that's something else that I had to learn about myself, to just like really slow down. It's okay to kind of focus on one thing at a time.
Right,
But yeah, I have some educational options to go through for baking, and I know I just gotta like bite the bullet.
them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just always curious because what I originally wanted to go to school for and thought I wanted to be when I grew up, and Rachael shared the same, you know, it's like, well, it didn't exactly serve me for what we're doing now, but in a sense it's similar to, you know, all principles can intersect when it comes to education and, you know, your professional experience. You're learning something that you could carry on forever. So it's just really understanding what you learn in that program or that certification or that degree. You know, what can you take with you? Like, there is no poor education, because even when you think you have a poor education, you learn what you don't want to experience again. Like Rachel and I experienced in beauty school, we're like, oh my gosh, like we never want students to experience that. So even when it's not great, we learned that, hey, this is what we do want to provide to our students moving forward. So there's no wasted space in learning. So I was just curious about your background.
Yeah, well, and I love that because I think, like you said, everything intersects and you can learn from all different facets of education. But when it comes down to it, like business and providing something is about connection with other human beings. And if you can take little pieces of like, no, is everything I've learned in fitness and nutrition going to serve what I want to do in baking? No, but I've learned how to communicate, how to show up in an honest way, and like that comes across in baking too, even though it's selling something completely different.
Totally.
Right.
So,
Well, and just to build a brand and to be passionate about what you do. Like those just, they cross over every quarter.
yeah, absolutely.
So speaking of, you said something along the lines, well, now I'm actually putting words in your mouth, but it sounded like you stay true to your authentic self.
Yeah.
And frankly, that you were the first person I reached out to about the podcast.
Oh, me?
Number one. The number one gal.
No, I'm serious, because I think you do a really good job at being your authentic self online
Thank you.
and building your brand. So how do you do that?
Man, I think a lot of it just age and experience, and you just have to be. It's my mission to be just relentless in not giving an absolute F about what people think, or, you know, if they don't like what I'm wearing or how I talk, but like that doesn't matter because I feel like I understand what my core values are as a human being, and I think that has allowed me to show up in certain ways. And we see so much BS on social media that it's important to me to not add to that BS.
Right, yeah.
You know, I want people to know that they can come as they are. It does not matter. And you're going to get the same me every single time. Like, why would you want to be anything different, you know?
It's a lot of work to be something you're not.
Yeah, I can't imagine. It's so much easier to just be this version of me all the time.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I think we talk about values and being your authentic self in almost every single podcast episode, because that's the common theme with entrepreneurs. You know, it's just someone that decides, you know what, this cookie cutter path is not for me. I want to do me. Whether I succeed or not, I mean, that does not define an entrepreneur. Success does not, like, being an entrepreneur does not mean you're successful. It's just a way of life. And that's choosing your own path and being your authentic self. And I know Rachel's really big on that, and I love that.
It's hard. It's very hard to do.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah.
So you mentioned competitive bodybuilding,
Weightlifting.
weightlifting.
Yeah.
Weightlifting.
Yes.
So am I making it up, or is it CrossFit that you do?
It is not CrossFit.
Not CrossFit. I am making that up.
They do weightlifting movements in CrossFit, which is probably where you're most familiar with seeing them. But
Yeah.
Olympic weightlifting as a sport is
Oh,
actually in the
Olympic
it's in the Olympics, right? And we perform 2 strength exercises with barbells, the snatch and the clean and jerk, and you have to lift as much weight as possible. There are no burpees or running or
Okay.
rowing involved
Okay.
whatsoever.
Very straightforward. I like
Yeah.
it. It seems
We could do that.
like that sounds easy.
Yeah,
Totally good. Yeah.
So what does it take to be a competitive weightlifter?
Man, I think it takes being okay with doing the monotonous things, the same things over and over and over again. You know, when I go in to train, I'm a little less competitive now, but at one point I was like, okay, I'm trying to get to the national stage. Like I have big goals in the sport. You know, you compete every couple of months. And there was a point where I was training 9 sessions per week, which is just like my old body. I'm like, no, I'm good with a couple sessions
can't
per
now.
week. Yeah. But it is, you have to show up when you're tired. You have to show up when you're crabby. You can't, I guess. You can choose not to show up, but then you're not going to get
There's
that
no
result,
growth. You're
right?
gonna suck.
Yeah, well, yeah, you know.
Right.
So I think it's just making sure that your priorities align with if that is something that you want to do in terms of being competitive and being successful in that space. you have to prioritize your life around it. And that was honestly, it's like, this is such a funny question, because I've realized lately that I want to prioritize weightlifting. I don't want to prioritize my life around weightlifting. I want it to just kind of fit in where it can. And I have other things that I'm trying to grow and other priorities that I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I spent many years dedicating, which is, I think, why my personal training, my private business never really took off, because I was way more focused on my weightlifting goals. So like my business goals came second always. And like weightlifting is exhausting. I would be there for 2.5 hours a session. And, you know, there's always, you have to make weight for meat. So there's lots of cutting and calories and all the things involved. And I was like, this is just too much. So I knew when I wanted to step into this different version of myself and become kind of a baker that I plan on expanding on, like weightlifting can't be my number one anymore. And that's okay. It served me, and I did my time and had a great time with it and was successful enough by my definition. But now it's just something that I do to stay in shape and enjoy, because I like the sport, but other things have to come first now.
So everything you were talking about in your mindset, essentially, right, is like you don't have the choice to like not practice, or it's called practice, or
we call it training.
You don't have that option if you want to be successful, right? And it's just like number one priority. So wherever you put your energy, that's where you're going to be successful,
Absolutely.
right? So the same principles in business, like if that's your priority and you just switch the narrative, that's what's going to, you know, be fueled, and that's where you're going to see your success. I mean, I think it's super badass what you've done.
Thank you.
I'd love it if you could share with our audience about your transformation.
Oh, my personal transformation, sure. So I was just an overweight kid growing up my whole life. You know, I played sports. I was always very athletic naturally, but I was never fit. I didn't really know that until I was in college, and then everything went downhill. You know, I was the party girl, and I drank a lot, and I ate fast food on a daily basis. And by the time I was 21, I was like 257 pounds. And it was the first time I stepped on the scale, and I was like, holy shit, I'm closer to 300 pounds than I am 2. Like, I need to figure this out. My dad passed away when I was 20, and that was kind of the catalyst for me. So it took a little time to recover from that, right? That traumatic life experience at 20 years old. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to go to the gym and figure it out. And I started on the elliptical and on the treadmill, having no idea what I was doing. And then I played around with machines, and I did find CrossFit. I have done CrossFit. That's what got me into weightlifting. Yeah.
Your gateway exercise.
It was 2013, and I started CrossFit, and we did it for about 6 months. And then my gym that I was at, this is back in Illinois when I lived. That's where I'm from. So we did that, got into weightlifting, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to do CrossFit anymore. Weightlifting is way cooler. Moved to California, which is where I met my husband. We met at a weightlifting gym, ironically.
Cool. Full circle.
Yes. And then we moved here in March of 2021. And I think even in the beginning, and I feel like this is so relatable to everything, business, fitness, life, but like in the beginning, I was a trier, right? I wasn't necessarily a doer yet. I would just try things. I would try some cardio. I would try to figure out how to, what diet was best for me, but I didn't really know what to do and how to execute a plan. And it wasn't until I hired a coach, my first coach, right? And had nutrition coaching and like really understood that like, oh, this could be simpler. It's not easy. It's simple. Simple and easy are not the same, right? Like it can be broken down into a very simple blueprint, if you will. And that's like what it took. And that's kind of got me to where I am. So.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. I've seen your before and after photos.
Oh, yeah, girl.
It's incredible. So it's not just the transformation of your body.
Yeah.
It's the mindset. That's what trumps everything. And we talk about mindset like all the time, because that's the difference between successful people and unsuccessful people and whatever we're talking about, right? It could be, diet, it could be business, it could be your relationships, it could be, your education. It's just like, it trumps everything is your mindset. And so kudos to you.
Thank you.
I think you figured that out early on, and frankly, I think you saved your life, right? It sounded like you were on a different pathway.
I was, yeah.
You
I say that all the
stopped
time.
yourself.
Like, strength training saved my life. It was the biggest game changer for me, and I feel like, I don't know, lost my train of thought, but yes, it's definitely saved me from myself.
Save me from myself. So, okay, you have your side business in baking, and you've had your business in personal training, and you currently also hold a job as an employee, but you do coaching, right?
Yes.
So you're coaching other people on what lifestyle, diet, all the above.
Yeah, all the above with, nutrition plan, program their strength training for them. But a lot of it is mindset and behavior change and the things that you say to yourself on a daily basis and what you think you're capable of. And it's a lot of what I do, a lot of what a lot of coaches do is it's help convince you to get out of your own head and stop making those excuses that keep you in one place, right? And that's what any type of coaching is, because you need someone else, I think, to believe in you first sometimes. Whereas it's like, even just relating it to my own personal transformation, when I think about, I don't know what I'm doing with baking, right? Like, I still have that imposter syndrome that comes up every once in a while. Like, you're not a baker. You just bake out of your kitchen. Those thoughts creep in, and I'm like, look what I did for myself. I could do anything. Right? And I've convinced myself that I could do anything, even if I don't always have a plan, but I'm like, I could do that.
Yeah. I can do it.
For sure.
For sure. We could build Wax Pro. We can make you an entrepreneur. So how did you build your clientele, baking and personal training? How did you build that clientele, and how do you maintain those relationships?
So baking, we're still working on building the clientele, but online, it's all social media, and I think it's part of it is showing up authentically and genuinely, because I feel like my energy attracts the people that I would want to work with and want to help and want to serve. And with my private clients outside of my full-time job, they have my cell phone numbers because it's that important to me to be able to ask questions any and all the time, right? Like, I'm a coach, but I think of myself a little bit more like a mentor, right? I don't know it all. I don't have all the answers, but relationships and communication, I tell every client, this is a two-way street. I'm never going to talk at you. I'm never going to just tell you what to do without figuring out if I'm meeting you where you're at, because it's really, really important, right? Especially in changing those nutrition and fitness habits and those behaviors. So just letting them know that they have my unwavering support. And, if they totally fuck it all up and spend a whole week of not doing any of the things that we talked about, okay, we could still start now. It's never too late to start. And I think that's the biggest place where people need a little convincing. Yeah, I
think that happens in business a lot too. You're like, oh, this week sucked. I didn't make money this week, and you get down on yourself. But not only is there a new week, there's a new moment. You could choose right now what you're doing with your time. Are you gonna keep scrolling on Instagram, or are you gonna get your ass out, network, give your business card out to 3 people?
Yeah, it's very hard to get yourself out of a negative mindset when you're already in it.
Right.
It's just a very slippery slope.
It is.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
that's what we have to do.
Yeah.
All the time. So, curious, where do you get your motivation? Because you're a coach, so that requires a lot of giving. Where do you get your motivation from?
So I think motivation is finite, right? It's not something that we have to lean on, and I can't depend on it to always be there. So while, I'm motivated always to be fitter, be stronger, be a better version of me, I have to lean into discipline and just continuing on with the habits that I've had for years now, and understanding that when I'm trying to create a new habit, something I've done recently is started sleeping with my phone in the other room. It sounds so silly, right? It's so little.
I'm sure that made a huge difference.
And there's been a couple times where I've reached for it
And it's
to
not there.
go for a doom scroll, right?
Oh my gosh.
Smack your own hand away.
Phantom.
And I'm like, oh man, this is so weird. And there's definitely that part of me that just wants to like, it's fine. I could just have it tonight, just tonight. Like last night, I was like, it's Saturday.
Yeah.
Like, but no,
Treat yourself. No.
I was not really motivated to put my phone in the other room. That in that moment, that's the only thing I could think about for a few minutes there. I was like, shit, like I'm laying in bed with my husband, we're watching our show, we're like winding down. I don't need to be on my phone. So it was kind of like that disciplinary action that I took to like, okay, put it there.
Wow, that's a big
Be
step. That's
okay
like a drug
with
for
this
people.
discomfort. Like it's uncomfortable. I think you have to be willing to sit with that discomfort. Understand that if you want something better or to change, like discomfort is going to be involved every freaking time. It's unavoidable. And having that conversation with yourself and being like, okay, this is uncomfortable, but I can get through this. I think that's kind of what keeps me going.
Yeah, Rach, wouldn't you say, like, not in those words exactly, but that's like a common theme of everyone we've interviewed.
Every
is
last one. Yeah.
you're going to be uncomfortable, whether that's financially or you're tired because you put in extra hours, or losing a relationship that just didn't understand your lifestyle, or, you know, being alone, right? They say it's lonely at the top, right? And so you move up and people don't understand your lifestyle, and they don't understand why you say, yeah, I'm not going out because, like, I'm on a budget. Make no mistake, that doesn't mean you're broke. You're just on a budget and you're staying on track with your goals. Like, that's uncomfortable, and people don't understand you.
Totally.
And that's also uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So it's like,
We've heard that
interesting.
same response in different words, but essentially the same theme from every person that we've talked to has said it. So
Just
it must
that
be true.
discomfort, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's personal boundaries that you have to set with yourself, but it's also, I think, reteaching the people around you what to expect from you now. Like, I have to tell my clients that all the time, like, okay, your kids come over and their grown kids come over and they expect you to have dessert. But you know, if you make dessert, you're gonna eat dessert. Like, you're gonna overindulge. So, like, don't freaking have dessert.
Yeah.
Like, have them bring their own. You know, it's these little things that you have to reteach these people. Like, when I was getting fit, are you kidding me? I started saying no to going to the bar. I started saying no to drinking, and my friends, you know, like,
You're lame.
You're lame. You're no
Yeah.
fun anymore. And I'm like, okay.
Yep.
And now my friends don't even ask me if I want to drink because they know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they don't expect me to be out past 8 p.m. because they know.
Yeah, you have to train the people around
Yeah.
you. It's true.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and you have to stand firm in those boundaries every freaking time because they're going to push, and you're going to want to give in. But if you want change, you can't.
Why do you think that people do that? Like, whenever you make a change in your life, like diet, that's the main one that stands out to me, because I've definitely been there before too, where people are like, you know, one burger won't hurt you. You're too skinny. Not anymore. But at the time, right? And they would like almost judge, right?
It's their own insecurity.
And same,
what it
yeah,
is.
yeah, sure. But same with even something that you think is positive and should be received positive, like, oh yeah, I'm putting in like these extra hours. Like, no, I'm not going out Friday night. I'm working on my business. And you know, they'll say, well, you need to take a break. Yeah, you know, you need to slow down. Like, that's not your whole life, right? So no matter what you do, even if it's
The
bettering yourself,
yeah, is always there. Just
So
people have a lot of thoughts, a lot of things to say. It's
Right.
very crazy, actually.
They do. I've had to, I think part of that, like learning that, and I used to be that kind of person, right? Like, who just didn't understand and didn't care. And I think it's changed the conversations that I have with other people and the expectations I have from other people, because I have fewer expectations from other people. And I
Yeah.
don't mean that in a bad way, but, you know,
Probably saves you in the end, right?
Yeah.
You set the bar lower, then people don't disappoint you as often.
and it's, you know, I think there is people want to change, but they're not
Willing.
ready
Yeah.
to make some of those little sacrifices. And no matter what it is, it's sacrifice and it's discomfort, and you gotta like be okay with that.
do it, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to people can't fathom doing what you do as a business owner, or what you do as a coach or a fitness competitor. They can't even fathom the discipline it requires. So because they don't, it's like, what's wrong with you? There must be something wrong with you, because I can't do it. So like, what are you doing, right? So I think it's important for our listeners and future entrepreneurs to understand that that's going to be a very common sentiment of people around you. And if you're easily influenced, you're gonna be in a world of hurt. You have to just be clear on that vision and that mission and chat. You know, of course, you don't want to be egotistical. There might be some good that's coming from, you know, feedback from your friends, family, peers, etc. But if it's the people that are just kind of attacking you for being focused on something so positive, then you have to reevaluate your relationship with them altogether. It's not that they're bad, it's just you've outgrown them, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that you're not friends anymore. It's just, you know, we're not aligned anymore. It's okay. It happens.
Yeah.
So, any last questions, comments, thoughts around entrepreneurship? Anything you think our audience might benefit from knowing about entrepreneurship?
I think it's strike when the iron's hot, when you feel excited. Like, if you feel excited about something, just start. You're never going to feel ready. You're never going to feel like you know what you're doing. And then you're going to get going and you're going to figure some things out and you're going to realize, oh shit, there's more that I don't know. And ask for help. My God, ask for help. Because you cannot do it all by yourself, period. Right. And if you want to grow and you want to, whatever it is, a service, a good, anything, like lean into those people around you who want to help you and make connections like this, right? Small business owners and entrepreneurs love to support each other. I've never met one that wasn't excited to exchange ideas and exchange stories. So just like lean on the people. It doesn't make you weak, or that doesn't mean that you're not going to be successful in your own way, but use what you've got.
Beautiful.
I think that's really good advice.
Thank you.
That's great advice. You heard it from Lindsay Dill. She's a big Dill. I was waiting all episode to say that. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. It was so great to catch up and see you, and I'm so glad Rachel got to meet you.
Thank you guys for having me so much. This is great.
We'll see you soon.